Hey everyone, I'm Hollander Cooper, and I beat South Park: The Stick of Truth.
And I'm Ryan Teljanik, and I've played a good amount of it too. But John, Hollander, you reviewed it for us.
Yes.
I have a few questions for you about what you thought of
Let's do this.
Now, obviously, this is a South Park game.
Yes.
But tell me first, how is it as an actual game?
It's not crazy complicated, but it's good. It's a very good game when it is being a game. It's a lot like Paper Mario or any of those sort of like turn-based RPGs that don't take the mechanics like crazy seriously, but it replaces incredibly deep RPG systems with some action elements. So you need to hit the button at the right time to do more damage, and it's not like if you hit the button at the right time you do a little extra damage. It's like if you don't hit the button at the right time you do barely any damage. So it is, and the same to block. You can block by hitting a button. So it's very action-based when it goes into turn-based combat, but just as in ye olden times, everyone waits their turn to fight. And there's like a really complicated weapon system where every weapon has a different attack pattern, and you can, like, there's sockets, sort of, or I think they're called strap-ons. You can attach different things to do different amounts of damage, and it works really well in just like the RPG elements. And there are a bunch of side quests, so the game itself under the South Park cut paper works well.
How long did it take you to finish?
About 12 hours. There were still a few side quests I didn't complete, but honestly, I don't think it would take more than 13 if I had done every single thing there is to do. But I do kind of want to replay it.
Sure. So now let's talk a little bit about the humor. And, as a South Park game, of course, everyone's expecting this to be very funny. How would you say it compares to, like, perhaps an episode or maybe even like an actual South Park movie?
Honestly, it feels, when you're playing through it, almost like you're marathoning the show. Like, it's non-stop South Park humor. And besides, the thing that makes the South Park humor work so well is that it's so much funnier than you'd expect. Like, the jokes they do aren't the most obvious ones, so the humor works really well. And it has the same pacing, the same voice acting, so it just feels like South Park. The art style is South Park. You are just playing an episode of South Park,
Right.
Or rather, I guess if an episode's a half hour long, you're playing like 24 episodes of South Park.
Yeah, and I guess one thing I appreciated too, as somebody who hasn't really kept up with the series, is that I never felt like I was missing out on the jokes that were being made. They just felt kind of complete.
Yeah, they did a good job of, like, when they wanted to put a joke in from the series, rather than making new jokes, they would lift the entire joke out. So when Man Bear Pig shows up, they don't just go like, hey, look, it's Man Bear Pig. Like, they give context to the jokes. Everything has the setup and the punchline. Because it's really easy when you're making references to a TV show to just have it be the punchline. And it'll be, oh, it's a thing I remember. That's funny. And it does do that, but it does it in an unobtrusive way. So, like, the healing items are all, like, bag of cheesy poofs, or bottle of water, or, like, a tub of cream fraiche. You don't have to understand Randy Marsh's obsession with cream fraiche to think it's funny that that's a healing item. But if you do watch the show, you'll get so many jokes. There's junk loot everywhere.
Yeah.
And every single piece of it's the book, the poop that took a pee, or like, it's all references to the show, or just like dildos, like filthy random things like that.
The other thing I thought was really hilarious too, or not only were there tons of in-jokes from the show, but also a lot of jokes about games in general.
Yeah, they did a really good job of just making fun of games. And it's easy to make fun of something if you're not good at it, but they make fun of games while being better than a lot of other games. And it's also, just to kind of go on that, like, they're very specific with the things they're making fun of. So it's not like one of the ways you level up is by making Facebook friends. It's not like, oh, you're making my book friend. No, it's Facebook. You're on Facebook, and they'll reference Twitter, and they'll reference Taco Bell. Like, that's one of the things that makes South Park so funny, is despite there being aliens and weird creatures and crab people, they're always going to make references to the real world and ground it in reality, and that makes a joke. It makes a joke 100 times funnier when they're referencing a specific person instead of an idea.
Right. So one thing I was kind of concerned about when I first started playing, and is that the entire game basically takes place in the town of South Park. Did the environments ever feel too repetitive? Was there enough going on, and was, like, this neighborhood adventure, did it ever feel like, like an epic RPG adventure?
It's surprisingly, yes. I think the neighborhood itself, the town of South Park, definitely feels small by the end. It's 3 roads.
Right.
That's basically what it is. But you spend a lot of time navigating the overworld, but you spend a shocking amount of time doing other things. So the game takes place over the series of 3 or 4 full days that go by, and I don't think one day goes by where you don't visit 2 totally different environments that are. It's not just like, oh, another cave. Like, they are so different than the rest of the game. And I mean, if you watch South Park, you kind of know what to expect. But there's crazy sci-fi, crazy fantasy, crazy this. It just keeps going in weird directions.
Cool. Now, I know Obsidian kind of has this reputation for developing fairly buggy games.
Kind of notorious for it.
What about Stick of Truth?
I had fewer gameplay bugs than I expected. I had some weird little things, like if I would unequip the strap-ons from my weapons, or maybe they're stickers. Sometimes it would also unequip them from other weapons, like weird little things like that. And I think you and I both had, in totally different spots, just flat out like almost like progress stopping, game breaking bugs. Like I beat a boss and the game would crash, and then I went back and beat the boss and the game crashed, and then I went back and beat the boss again and the game crashed, and I had to like update drivers twice and restart my computer and try to do it a different way, and then that fixed it. And I know you're not like, you still can't beat a boss.
As of this exact moment, I'm still unable to progress, but I'm certain that is something that's going to be ironed out by the time this game's out.
And there are some other little things that like that I feel like weren't completely fleshed out in the game that aren't just bugs. Like there's a summon. You can summon allies to help you. I did it once because you can't use it during bosses and the recharge time is too long. And I found that was a mechanic that, even though it was really funny, it never really worked. And there's also some other little things, like the blocking is a little too unforgiving, and it felt like some of the game mechanic systems weren't totally either explained perfectly or just not. I know we both talked about like the armor system we never fully understood, so we ended up just using damage over time things to like bleed enemies to death, which is fun and fine, but there were some of the complexities that never worked. But all things considered, I'd say in recent memory, it's Obsidian's least buggy game. Game-breaking glitches notwithstanding.
Sure. So, okay. Overall, what did you think about South Park: The Stick of Truth, and what did you score it?
I ended up going with a 4.5 out of 5.
All right.
I'm a huge South Park fan, but I've disliked other South Park games. It's not like just a South Park game is going to be enough to make me like, it has Stan in it, I think that's great. The game is as good a South Park game as you could ever really hope for. It's like 12 or 13 hours long. It's hilarious. It's filled with fan service that people are going to love, but it doesn't have enough that, like, if you're a casual fan, you'll still get a majority of the jokes, because they don't just rely on previously made jokes. They use their humor to make jokes that you will get, and it's really, really good. I'm shocked at how much I like the Stick of Truth.
I have to say I agree with you on pretty much everything you said about it, having played it myself.
I don't replay games, but I kind of want to replay this because it's just funny, and I keep thinking about things that happened in it, and it's horribly offensive, and it's horribly sexist and racist, and every ist that South Park usually is, but the way that the jokes are constructed and the way that the tone of the game is, if you're a fan of that, if you've ever laughed at a South Park joke, you will probably find the game to be absolutely enchanting.
Not only that, the gameplay stands on its own too.
It does, yeah. It's basic, but it works, and it's basic, but it's also surprisingly complex in other ways.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so definitely, if you're even remotely a fan of South Park, I super recommend it.
Cool. Well, then I guess you can check out, if you want to read the full review, check us out on GamesRadar.com, and be sure to subscribe and like and follow us. And check us out at the site, and we'll see you guys there.